I've been experimenting with fabric arts. Good morning, everybody. It's Stephen here for Bland Designs, and this is my weekly vlog for Monday, July the 8th, 2019, vlog number 123. And so what have I been up to this week? Well, I've been making a few things, and I have a few things to show you and a few things to tell you. So let's get right into it. First thing, I was being creative in my sewing room, and I made this little thing, and you're probably wondering, what is this little thing? And this little thing is a thread catcher. Yep, made from scrap material. Actually, I didn't even sew the buttons on, I just glued them on, but kind of cute. The only thing I find is when you put your little strands of thread in it, its opening isn't that wide and threads go all over the place. But I made this because something I'm going to show you in a minute or two. I wanted to save some of my more colorful threads because I can use them in textile art, and I'll show you that in a minute. But anyways, I thought these are kind of cute. They sit beside your sewing machine, and I was thinking of making some of these for our quilt show for our boutique table. I might still, I might not, I don't know, we'll see. I was thinking of altering the pattern actually and making them a little bigger so the opening would be a little bigger. Okay, what else do I have to show you? Oh yes, I made some placemats, and these are for us. And again, I just used leftover fabric for this kind of thing, but the maple leaves are applique. And I found a pattern for $1.99 on Embroidery online. Actually, it was on sale for half price because it's my birthday, kind of a thing. It's not my birthday yet, technically, until this coming Sunday. But they gave me a 50% off discount on a single design. So this is the single design I picked, and those are appliqued on there with the machine. I altered the pattern slightly, and I talk about that and show it on an episode of The Idiot Quilter if you're interested to see how this is created, how the appliques are created. And I believe that's in episode number, and it's in the show notes below, of course. Yeah, it's episode 47, Embroidery Machine Applique. So if you're interested, you might want to check that out. And then the other thing that I spent most of the weekend working on, I was cleaning up my scraps, and I have tons of scraps, and sorting through them, you know, ones that are big enough that I can probably use in a project, and then little bits and pieces. And of course, you can make your own fabric, putting all of those little scraps together. And then I got thinking, well, combine that with applique, and this is not a new idea to me. I've never tried this before, but a lot of people do this, and create a wall hanging from scraps, sort of an abstract kind of a thing. So one thing led to another, and it led to this. Just pull it back here. So you can see I created background fabric first of all by just sewing together various bits and pieces of fabric, and then on top of that I laid down and lightly glued with a water-soluble glue stick these random little curvy pieces that I just chopped out of little scraps and laid them across the background until I got what I liked, a pleasing background. And then I thought, well, I'll put another layer here. It's like doing mixed media, layer after layer, and laid down a whole bunch of the colored threads, and that's what the thread catcher is for. So I always have a supply of these threads if I want to use them in something like this. And then I got the idea that I'd put on this butterfly because I had some of these left over from the sewing retreat I went to in the spring, and I had made them on my machine. And so I put that butterfly on, but you know, butterfly needs a flower to go to, so I created the sunflower applique. And I did some thread painting on it, if you look at it closely, little sketchy things on the flower petals and stuff like that, all in free motion. And I just got that sunflower design from Google Images as an outline and used it as my template for cutting out my fabric, and then I just stitched around it using the machine again. Nothing on here is hand stitched, and put a couple of borders on with mitered corners to finish it off. Now the back, you're not going to see any quilting except for a line that goes around the outside, and that's from the little yellow line that was on my front border. This piece up here, looks like a flap. It's not a flap, it's actually a hanging tube, or a part where I can put a rod through this and hang it on a wall. And I'm going to hang it on a wall. We have a bathroom downstairs, down here, not too far away from my craft room. That's crying out for some bold color because it's kind of painted neutral in there. So I thought this would look pretty good on one of the walls in there, and that's where it's going to go. So yeah, I'm very pleased with that and how it turned out. And I think I'll do more of them as time goes on. And right now I have all these scraps of fabric. I've been sewing them together into larger pieces of fabric, and really they're kind of sewn together in a random order. And what I might do is I'm thinking about making them into another quilt, sort of what they call a scrappy quilt. But I might do a scrappy quilt with a bit of a twist to it. I might cut these larger pieces of fabric down to 6.5-inch squares, and then I might take some background fabric and make half square triangles with those and see how that looks as a pattern. It could be really kind of neat, or it could just be one great big mess. But it's only scrap fabric anyways, who cares? Okay, so that takes us to YouTube channel of the week. This one is from the UK. It's called In the Kitchen with Kate. She does some cooking videos, but she and her boyfriend, husband, significant other also do a series of taste tests of candy and snacks from around the world, which are really quite interesting. If you love snack foods and candy, then you're going to love In the Kitchen with Kate, this week's YouTube channel. On this channel, Kate and her husband, boyfriend, significant other, not sure which, review different kinds of snack foods from around the world. I especially found the one on Canada's candies quite interesting. They are from the UK, and they seem to do a lot of different types of foods besides just snack foods and candies on this website as well. So if you're a foodie, if you like to see taste tests, then this is the YouTube channel for you. So you will find the link for that YouTube channel below. And just on an aside, and this is not a criticism, but their videos are very, very professional looking. They have different camera angles and things like that. So I looked into their show notes, and yeah, they run a business. They run an online business in snack boxes from the UK. So really, that's why their YouTube channel looks so professional, is because this, I think, is their livelihood. And they have like thousands upon thousands of views. Excuse me, sneeze. And but anyways, I find them quite entertaining, especially when they talk about our snacks from Canada, the States, and things like that. It's kind of interesting, their take on that kind of thing. Okay, so the link for that's below, as is Stephen and Walter Live. And suddenly I have the sneezes, and I don't know why. I don't cough and I don't sneeze except when I do my vlog. What's that all about? Anyways, so Stephen and Walter Live this past week, our topic was scams and scammers. So we talked about the various types of scams that we have not been victims of. I'm going to sneeze again. Sorry. Not that we've been victims of them, although we came close a couple of times, and we talk about that in the video. So if you've ever been called up by a telemarketer, if you've ever had an interruption on your internet page trying to sell you something, if you've ever gotten an email telling you that you need to activate... Okay, I may have to turn this off in a minute because I'm having a sneezing fit. Let me just finish this. If you've ever had, anybody trying to get your money for reasons that are not legit, then you've been involved with a scammer. And I don't think there's anybody on the face of this planet that hasn't been involved on that. So that's in Stephen and Walter Live, and I'm going to be right back. Okay, sorry about that. I just had to sneeze out a storm here. I don't know what it is. I've had a cough for a month and a half, and these sneezing fits come on to me, and I'm just wondering if it has something to do with the medication I'm on from the doctor. Well, I go and see her in a couple of weeks' time again, so I'm going to ask her about this. It's very much like allergies, but I think we're kind of past the season right now for allergies. I don't know, I could be wrong. We do live in an area that's full of growth, like we back onto a forest kind of a thing. But I don't know, it's just unusual, weird. So, back to the list in the show notes. So Stephen and Walter Live, Scams and Scammers, YouTube channel of the week is there, and also Idiot Quilter number 47, I've already mentioned. And this week's, I've put in the last segment of working on the Box Scrapbook from iCraft. And I've put all the pieces together so they're one video now showing the whole process from beginning to end. And there's a link to that below. So you don't need to, if you're interested in going back over that, you don't have to watch each vlog or find it in each vlog. It's in one chunk, and it's in the playlist called Mixed Media. Okay, so that takes us to what's pissing me off this week. And this is kind of a lead up to next Stephen and Walter Live topic, which is about old people and what they do to annoy us. Now, let me say one thing. I guess I'm an old person. I guess I'm a senior. I'm about to turn 62. So, in some people's worlds, that's old. Not mine. When I say old people, I'm talking 80 plus. But for the most part, I don't consider myself old. But does anybody consider themselves old? My mother does. But I digress. So, what's pissing me off? All right, so last week we went to Costco. And in Costco, it doesn't matter what time of the day you go or what day of the week you go, it's busy. Busy, 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 busy. And we're looking for a parking spot. And there's some old fart. She's waiting for someone to come out of a parking spot because she had to have that particular spot. Now, this is the one thing. Yeah, I get it. When you get older, you probably have some walking problems and things like that. I know, look at my mother, okay? But come on, there are 3 cars lined up behind her because we can't get into the parking lot, and we're blocking the main exit and entrance into Costco because of this. If it had been me, I would have looked in my rearview mirror, saw the cars lined up, and would have gone on. Because there were other parking spots. Yes, not quite as right there that close. And she was still a mile away from the doors of Costco. So I don't know what the advantage was of that spot, but she had to have that spot. Not only is she sitting there and blocking traffic behind her, she's blocking it in front of her because she decided to pull into the middle of the laneway between the aisles of parked cars. So there we sit. Finally, the car that she's waiting to leave does leave, and she pulls into it. So we zip past her, and there's a spot, just a few parking spots ahead of us. So Walter goes to start turning into that. Well, this old fart, another one, decides he's going to pull through. There's 2 parking spots, one behind the other, kind of a thing. And those 2 were free. Walter was pulling into the one here. This guy zips right in and right through. Now, if we had not been careful, if we had not been paying attention, there would have been a head-on crash. So Walter goes around and we park right behind this old fart. And when the old fart gets out, I say to him, very sarcastically, you realize you just cut us off. And he looks at me and smiles and goes, yeah, I didn't see you. Yeah, we know. And I said, yes, I realized that. And I just let it go at that point. But I'm telling you, yes, younger people can do the same kind of thing to you. But everywhere I go, there is these old people who are doing ridiculous things. Now, before you start calling me an ageist or anything like that, I realize that in some cases, these people can't help it. Yes, they have medical problems that affect their physical ability to, move. Maybe there's, a little problem up here as well, like early onset Alzheimer's or something like that. I don't know. But then some of them are just plain rude. And I get that, I do get that, because I used to tell people that when I get a cane, I'm going to use it. I'm going to bash little kids on the head if they're in my way in the grocery aisle. I'm going to poke people in the ribs to get them moving. If someone puts more than 8 items on the express lane when it says 1 to 8 items, I'm going to take that cane and I'm going to swat things on the floor. Yeah, again, I have a wicked imagination. And I used to say, yeah, I'm going to be a grumpy old man. Maybe I'm already that. I'm not sure. But come on. Well, what's with this? You know, really. You can't explain everything that these older people do and lay it down to the fact that they're an older person. I think they're just rude people who think for some reason they can get away with this kind of thing. Yes, age should bring to you some privileges, but not privileges that impact negatively on other people. What can we do about this? I don't know. Ignore it? I mean, there was the potential for 2 accidents within 3 minutes at Costco because of the way these 2 people were driving. And maybe that is why, at least in this country, you get to a certain age, you have to redo the driver's test. Because there are people out there that shouldn't have a driver's license. Well, it's not just age why some people shouldn't have driver's licenses. It also has, I think, to do with, you know, just poor driving, period. However, it's scary with some of these people because they're oblivious, and you watch them. You watch them right behind. You know, you get behind a car in a 60-mile zone and the car ahead of you is doing 40. 9 times out of 10, it's a senior citizen, an old senior citizen. Like, I mean really old, driving that car. Because here they are, eyes straight ahead. You know, you're driving a 2,000 or 2-ton vehicle that, if your reflexes aren't as good as they used to be, you have to stop suddenly. You might not, and you're going to plow into the back of somebody else. You're going to hit a pedestrian. You're going to hit a street lamp. I don't know. All of those things are there. So I guess that's why they make them take tests. I know that if they don't pass the test, they take the license away from them. They can't drive. And, you know, that's a form of independence, especially in our country, because we need cars in this country. You know, I've mentioned before, our public transportation system sucks. And our country is so big. To get to point A to point B, you need a car. So it gives older people their independence. And when you take away that car from them, you've taken away a major part of their independence. I get that. And I can see why some older people, you know, don't want to take the test, or, you know, they don't want to give up their car. But on the other hand, for their safety, for our safety, and to keep me from getting pissed off, I say, lose the license. Okay, enough said. I know I'm going to get into trouble for this. Just remember, I'm saying old people, 80 plus. Okay? And maybe when I'm 80, I'll say old people are 100 plus. Okay? We'll see. All right. What's next? Oh, some new products to show you, so just give me a second. Okay, so I picked up a few things this week. And one of those things is, I mentioned last week that I had ordered on Amazon something called an easy binding winder, which is for the binding that goes around the edges of quilts, because you make this long strip and you've got this long coil. So I ordered 2 of these. I ordered one from Amazon, and that's the one that cost me like $70 Canadian. And then I ordered one from the Fat Quarter Shop in the States, which cost me, with the exchange rate and shipping, half the price. I've gotten one of the 2 of them. It was a race between the 2. Would I get the one from Amazon first or the one from the Fat Quarter Shop? And the reason being, with Amazon, even though it was marked as being prime, 1 to 2 days delivery, it came up with a different window of opportunity or delivery, whatever you want to call it, that said anywhere between July 4th and July 15th or something like that. Well, lo and behold, I got it. I got it before July 4th. I got it early last week. And this is the little device. It's in the box. It's called the Easy Winder. And I'll just pull it out here and show you. There was one review that Walter found that said, someone complained and said they thought it was kind of cheap because it was made of plastic and that. Well, yeah, and it's hot pink. but I really don't care about the color. And so the idea here is there's a clamp, this little gizmo that just fell apart, and that's just the locking mechanism. This little mechanism allows you to attach it underneath a table or ironing board. I think it fits in on here on the side, kind of a deal. And then you have your crank, and you just, in this little roller in here, there's a little slit. Actually, this does come apart. Does come apart. And it's supposed to come apart. Oh, there we go. Came apart. Okay, this little roller that fits down inside of here has a little clip on here. So you just put your fabric underneath that, stick it in here, and put the handle back on. I know you can't see what I'm doing, but do you need to? Let me see here. Oh, I see. There is a certain way to put this on, if I could figure it out. Learning all the time. Okay. This has a flat end up here and flat end here, so you match it up. Okay. Now that we know how that works. Oh, yeah. Once you do it right, it works no problem. And so you put your fabric into that little clip and away you go. Now, when you make binding, you have to fold the fabric in half, and you press it, and then you move on to the next. And I said that these things get very, very long. So they show this clip to an ironing board, put the end of the fabric in, like take first 12 inches to 18 inches and do your fold and your ironing on it, get it started, and then you do another 12 inches and roll it up. And then when you're ready to put this on your quilt, you just sit this beside your sewing machine and just pull it out and away you go. It keeps things neat and tidy. Now you might think, if you're not a quilter or anything, you go, this sounds stupid. It's really not stupid. It works really well. And when you're doing something like binding, it actually does get a little difficult to handle because it is such a long piece of fabric and it does get tangled up. So yeah, I'm kind of happy with it. I haven't used it completely. I've experimented with it, but I haven't used it like on a real project yet, but I will. So now I'm waiting for the second one to arrive. And it's coming by US Postal Service. So I've got a tracking number, and last I looked, it was in Illinois. So we'll see whenever we get that. Of course, funny thing with Fat Quarter Shop was they said you would get it within, I think it was 2 to 5 business days. It's been more than that. So, of course, their excuse would be, well, yeah, within the United States. That's the excuse for everything. Within the United States. You know, outside the United States, you take your chances. Okay, so what else did I get? I'm just checking my notes here. Oh, the Deflecto storage boxes. And I need to take my microphone off for just a second, so there might be a little noise. This. Now, right now I have paints in it, but I have seen these. Ken and Sean on Ken's Creations talked about these over a year ago. They were showing them at Creativation, and it's a whole modular system that snaps together. You can even get wheels for this, and they stack up. Michaels sells them, and they're as expensive as hell on Michaels. Of course, what isn't? But I just saw the other day that Costco had these, and I'm really thinking of going over and getting another set, because I think that it was something like $29.99, and you got the 2, and these all clip in and clip out, and it's really cool, and it's well built. So I picked that up, if it stays there, and it holds some of my paints. I need another one to hold more paints, I think. But anyways, that was not a bad buy. You get wonderful things at Costco. And the other thing that I got was a basket that clamps to the side of a table or whatever. It's a good sized basket. It's made by Tonic. Tonic is a brand that makes like Tim Holtz's scissors. I think they were the people that made Tim Holtz's stamp platform until they had to take that off the market thanks to Misty getting all pissy about it. And The reason I bought it was to clamp onto my table that my sewing machine is on, so I can put my bits and bobs into it, and they're handy, and it's great. Now, I think it was designed for crafters. When they go on retreats, they can clamp it to the side of the table. But there have been other things like that over the years that have come out, and quite frankly, this is the first one that actually clamps to pretty much any thickness of table. And my tables are pretty thick because they're collapsible ones. So I've got a lip like that, and it's no problem for it to handle it. It has additional pieces you can get that hang off the side of it. The store didn't have any of those, but I don't think I really need those because I wouldn't have the room where I'm putting it now. But I'm thinking of actually buying a second one for another part of my sewing room where I keep my supplies for my ironing and pressing, my pressing supplies and things like that. But I didn't want to take it off my table. I've got it all set up in my sewing room. So I thought I'd make this little video clip to show you what it looks like. So earlier this week, I bought this little basket thing, and I think this is genius. It's by the company Tonic, and I have to show it to you this way because I've already installed it. Although it would come off, it's not a problem. It just clamps onto my table. This is my sewing table, as you can see, and I have it clamped to it, and it's really convenient because I can drop miscellaneous tools, but the kind of things that I use all the time when I'm sitting at my sewing machine, and other little items in it, and it's quite large. Now, it is designed for scrapbookers to take with them to a retreat, and it does have side baskets as well that just clip over to the edges of here. I didn't buy those. Well, they didn't have any in stock in my craft store, but they had this one, and I don't need the other ones because it make it too long. But I'm thinking of buying a second one to put over by my iron where I have a bunch of miscellaneous sprays and things like that. So it's by Tonic. It was about 50 bucks Canadian. Price probably varies depending on where you're buying it from, if you're getting it online or not. And I'm sorry, I don't know the official name of this gizmo, but I'm sure if you did a search under Tonic at their website and put in caddy or basket, probably a caddy is what it's called, I think you'd find it. But I think it's worth the money. Now, price-wise, it's not particularly cheap. It was about 50 bucks Canadian, and but it's very well built. The frame is not cheap. It's fairly heavy aluminum, and the basket is heavy canvas that it's made out of itself. So really, I think it's good quality for the money. What else did I buy? Okay, I bought this weird looking thing. This is an accessory for the foil quill that We Are Memory Keepers came out with. You know, the foil quill is the pen that heats up, plugs it into your Cricut Maker, or it'll work with silhouettes, it'll work with Brothers Scan and Cuts and things like that. And basically, you lay down your foil on top of, say, a card face, and it'll draw out, but in foil, whatever you put down. Kind of a thing. It's a heat transfer system. Well, they came out with this metal magnetic pad for holding down the, there it is. Those are the magnets, the black strips. I'm trying to keep the glare off. It holds down the foil onto your project so it doesn't slip around. Otherwise, you have to use washi tape or masking tape to hold it down on your regular cutting mat. It works like a charm. I was really impressed. And the reason I'm so impressed with it is because I have bought a lot of We Are Memory Keepers products, and it's hit and miss. A lot of their products are fine, but there are a few products they've come out with that do not work at all. So I was a little iffy about this, but I'm very pleased with it. And it's not really pricey. Given that it's metal and the whole bit, I think it was $30 Canadian is what I paid for it. But yeah, it works really well. So I guess I have to do some more aluminum foiling now that I have all this stuff, right? Okay, so that was another thing. And anything else that I bought? Let's see. Oh, yes. So I'm going to talk about this in a few minutes, but we went on a little road trip, day trip, to a place about an hour and a half east of us. And we went to a fabric store, of course, there called Fun with Stitches in Belleville. And it was a great quilt store. It was huge. She had a lot of things to choose from. And so we did a little shopping, both Walter and I, because in one of her rooms she had fabric that was, it's discontinued fabric probably. She's trying to get rid of it. It was 60% off the regular price per meter. One stipulation, you had to buy 2 meters of any of that. So I did. So I ended up buying about 12 meters of fabric, a couple of patterns, and a specialty ruler for $132, including the tax. That's pretty darn good. Okay, so I think the fabric worked out to something like $6.60 Canadian a meter, and that's really good. So I thought I'd just quickly show you what I got. So I got some batiks. That's a batik. That one's not a batik. That's a batik. Okay, let's see. That. And that. And that. And as you can see, I have a blue theme. This is a batik as well with sort of a sea theme onto it. So these are all 2 meters. And then I bought, these were also on sale. I really like that one. And I think it'll go good with this print. This very indigenous looking print. Again, 2 meters. So as I said, did I get 12 or no? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, I got 12 meters of fabric at a really good price. And then I bought a specialty ruler, which is in the other room, and I'm not going to bother to get it because it's just a triangle, but it helps you make half square triangles. And then I saw these 2 patterns, and I thought they were really cool. I definitely lean towards star motifs. And so these 2 I really liked. I mean, I may not get around to making these for quite a while. I have a box full of patterns that I have bought and have done nothing with, but I got these 2 when I was there. So as I said, and Walter got a whole pile of fabric as well, and I think he bought a pattern, and really it was a deal. So I was glad we made the trip, and I will definitely go back to that store again. So that takes us then, that's all the things that I bought last week. That takes us to the book of the week. This is another oldie, but a goodie. Now, all the rage right now, and has been for a while, are people making ATCs. ATCs are artist trading cards. Well, I came across this, trading cards for scrapbook pages. Now, this book I have had for over 15 years, possibly going on to almost 20 with it. So, trading cards aren't something that are new. They've been around for quite a while. This one, though, shows you how to incorporate them into your scrapbook pages or your mixed media. And I say mixed media a lot with these books and things because you got to think beyond, you think outside of the box kind of a thing. So, if you can do it with scrapbooking pages, you can do it as mixed media too. And so it's got lots of ideas and designs for what to do with these and how to make them. And I know a lot of people are really into making these. I am not, as you know, but my ladies in my art journaling class are. So I should take this book and share it with them. And I'll look through a few pages and, make a couple of copies of those pages and hand them out at my next art journaling class. Might be a violation of copyright though. But anyways, this book, when I bought it, and it's called Trading Cards for Scrapbook Pages by Mary Kay Seckler. I have no idea what I paid for it at the time. I do not see a price on it, but I looked it up, and yes, it is available on Amazon.com, not Amazon.ca. And you can get it for $8.82 US. Not sure what the shipping would be on that, but that is available there, and I've got the link to that below. So, if you're interested in doing artist trading cards, or if you do them already, this might be another resource for you. All right, so that takes us to the last segment of the iCraft box scrapbook, and this week I'm finishing it up by showing you how I embellished it. And quite frankly, I think it turned out really nice. So here's the video for that.
So now it's time to embellish the box scrapbook. As you can see, I've already done that, and I decided to do that all off camera because it's a little tedious watching people glue down pieces of paper, and I think everybody is quite capable of gluing down pieces of paper. But what I am going to do is take you through this little box, now that's decorated, and talk about the different ways that I decorated it, the different ways I used embellishments. Now, right off the bat, you're going to notice something on here different from the one I showed you before. I had a belly band on that one before, but I decided I would actually install a magnet instead, and I'll show that to you in a moment, rather than the belly band, because the belly band was kind of loose and just one of those pieces that I think over time would fall off, you'd lose it. I don't think it's necessary, not when you have magnets. But before I show you the magnets and other things about this box, what I want to show you is the paper set that I used. And as you know, I use for my background papers, Graphic 45's Botanic Bella series. And I've developed all my embellishments inside this box from this paper pad. And this was the deluxe collector's edition, so it also came with some punch-out chipboard pieces as well, and I'll point those out to you when I show you the book. The one thing about sticking to one paper pad is all of your embellishments, all your background papers are all going to coordinate. So you don't have to go off and look for bits and pieces in your stash that might match up with other bits and pieces that you've used. It's all contained in one pad. Also, you will see that I've still given this the pages a 3D look with only using paper products. So let's take a look at what I did here to the box. So this is the outside of the box, and right off the bat you can see that I've decorated the cover, and I've done some layering and clustering here. These are elements that came from that paper pad. I just fussy cut them in some cases. In other cases I rounded the corners. You'll see that inside with my corner rounder. I tuck things underneath different elements, and I raise some elements up with pop dots or dimensional squares, whichever you prefer. As far as adhesive is concerned, I used two kinds of adhesive. I used double-sided tape. Most of the time I used double-sided tape, but for some of these other elements that are raised or were made from chipboard, I used the good old clear Gorilla Glue. My glue of choice. Dries fast, dries clear, sticks pretty much everything. So I said I installed a magnet in this box, and I did. And the magnet is visible when I open this up. It's a little black dot here and here. Now, if I had planned this a little bit better, I might have used flatter magnets and buried them underneath the background paper so you couldn't see them. There is a problem with that, though. You want to make sure you get some really strong magnets, because when they're going through a layer or two of cardstock, they don't necessarily have the strength to hold things together. These two magnets are not as flat, and they're strong enough, but you can see they're just enough to keep the cover down. They don't really hold it down so firmly that you have to pry the top off. And that's okay for this particular box, but you see it keeps it all closed up, and the box now has been sitting for a week or so with rubber bands around it just to get everything to shape properly. So I did some fussy cutting on here. I cut out these butterflies. They were in one of the papers that was in the kit. All of these, the little words in behind, all of those were in the paper kit. And to give it a little bit of a 3D dimensional level, I cut around the fish here and cut away some of the background paper that was behind it, just so it sort of floats on the top of the box. So I'll take you through this page by page. Now, when I put this together, I actually opened the whole thing up and started with the very last page and worked my way out. That way I didn't miss any areas. And also the sides of this, I just used some of the paper that was in the set and used it as a border around the edges. I didn't need to do that in the top because there was enough of the top paper overhanging. I didn't feel that it needed to be done. And on the back, just to finish it up, I just added a couple of more paper elements and one of the chip pieces that was in the kit. So let's open it up. So on this page, you can see there's some more of those chipboard elements that are here. And as I said, if I had planned this ahead of time, I would have used flatter and stronger magnets so I could have hidden them under the background paper. But I didn't do that in this case. And the page below has this little element. Now this particular scrapbook album has lots of places where people can put pictures, can put journaling, as you'll see. Will I ever use it that way? No. For me, this is done. I'm not going to add anything else more to it. But if you were giving it as a gift, you might want to take that into consideration that people might want to actually use it as a scrapbook. So I did add a little paperclip element. Now this paperclip itself was, I'll show you the back of it, had a little designer top to it. You can't see it because I've glued it to the chipboard. So that element did not come from the paper pack. So that was a little extra element, as was, oops, I don't think I cut my ribbon long enough on here, but I did put on some of these tag-like pieces, the chipboard, that did come from the paper pad set. I added, there we go, I added some ribbon to them as well, just as a little, you know, distinguishing feature. And the idea here too with the paper clip is that the person could take little notes, smaller pictures, and clip them all together and just slide it into this side panel. Now I did have to be cautious to make sure that none of my elements hung over where the pages fold, otherwise it wouldn't close. So I did keep that in mind. Here I've used some more of those smaller chipboard elements just glued down the side, and again I cut out an element from one of the pages in the page pack to create this little border piece here. Now pages like this are designed relatively flat so that someone could add some journaling, a little journaling card, or some little pictures in here. So we'll open up this flap. This one, similarly, as you can see, some of the chipboard elements, I made them a little bit 3D by popping them up on dimensional squares. And I went around all the edges of most of the elements with a little brown archival ink, just again to make them set off from the background paper. So on this side we have another place, another one of those chipboard tags, and I used some of the words that were actually on some of the papers, cut them out and used them as little border or title treatments. Here, just to break up this space, I just took a thin piece from a sheet of paper, cut it down, darkened it with some ink, and just stuck it down here to break up the monotony of that particular area. This of course has little cards, and in these paper packs you always get cut-aparts, which are elements that can be in large card size like on here, or smaller ones which you can just simply cut out, put a link around the sides, and usually on the back they have a pattern of some sort that can easily have some journaling put on top of it, or a picture or whatever. And I made some of these cards into little elements where I put tape or glue, depending on what you want. I use double-sided tape just around 3 sides of it so that it had created a little holder for these other cards and for other things that could be slipped in underneath. Here on this side I got a little fancy. Now there's a little problem I just noticed. I had to go over the fold with this piece, and I noticed that that's not stuck down very well, and it may pop up. I may have to add a little drop of glue in behind that later. But here I created a little fold out booklet. Again, I just took some of those elements, and they already came in this particular paper pack as a strip. I cut out the whole strip, I accordion folded, and now we have a little booklet. And again, we have surface for journaling and pictures on the back, and indeed you could put them over top of these elements as well. And I attached a ribbon to the back of this, and this piece I did glue down. I didn't use double-sided tape because this is an element that I know will get opened and closed quite a bit, so you want it to be adhered well. So I just used a little piece of ribbon. Where's that piece there? Just pull it in as the enclosure. And the ribbon's not going to get lost because it's permanently glued to the back of this element. The center page one of the bigger cutaway cards. And sometimes these are too big for your actual page, so don't be afraid to cut them down. I cut it down, I rounded the corners, I inked it. It doesn't readily look like it's only 3/4 of the card length. And in this particular case, and there's others in this album, I have cards that have lines meant for journaling, and then another chipboard element and some ribbon. So we open it up a little further, and let me get this one out. Okay, we'll talk about that in a minute, but up here, similar thing, another one of those paper clips that I attached one of the chipboard elements to the top of, and I've clipped 2 cards to this, which again, those cards could be substituted with a couple of pictures or anything else the recipient would like to do with it. Now in the center section in here, we have 2 fold-out booklets, but there are these 2 pages that cover those up, or one of them actually. So this one, I made a little pocket, again, just a strip of the decorative paper. I rounded the corners, I inked it, threw in a couple of more cards. And this page I left blank. I'd like to say I did that on purpose. I didn't. I missed it somehow. However, I'm going to just leave it this way because, again, this is an area here where the recipient could put maybe a larger picture or a larger journaling card. Now, the little booklet that are on either side, again, I stuck one of those little cards on here, and I put this little strip in as well. Now, you could do a little journaling on the back of this, but more or less I put that in there so that the participant or the recipient of this would know that, hey, this works as a pocket. They could stick something else in there if they wished, or they could use that strip, as I said. And if you open it up, another pocket here with 2 of those cards, and then I left a page blank, again, for them to customize it any way they wish. And another one of these pages where I've got the little pocket and the insert. And I did something similar on this side as well, except on this side I created a little bit bigger pocket on this one, and I made another little booklet right here. This one doesn't have a tie to it because it's held down by the pocket itself, but again, little accordion fold. This was 1 strip in the paper pack. I just cut it out and scored it and folded it, and of course the back side has lots of real estate as well. And it just gets, and I use some of those words again just to break up the picture, add a little interest element, and tuck that in here. And this card I mounted on top and had it hang over a little bit so that it gave this kind of effect. Inside, a blank page, another journaling card. That's one of those larger ones that I cut down. And again, this same sort of element here, which basically mirrors this element. Now, when I was putting these elements in, I was thinking about how the participant would open up the book. So I did everything with an orientation where this is the top, this is the bottom, and the 2 sides. Here's another one of the flaps. I just added a flat element. And you open this up, and you have another flat element here. And in this, I took one of these larger cards, and to create this pocket, I just cut it on an angle. I rounded the corners with my corner rounder so it fits in here very nicely. Added the words, added a chipboard element, and one of the larger cards, again, they were too big for these pages, so I just went ahead and cut them down, and it looks like it's the whole thing. And on these larger journal cards too, you could put a picture on one side, you could journal on the other. Again, whatever the user wishes to do with it. So this flap opens up this way, and on here another one of those types of pockets where I took the larger card and cut it off on an angle, and I slipped in another journaling card. And then the bottom page, or the last page, is just simply strip of the paper, put in as a, this one is not a pocket, it's more of a belly, what do you call it? It is a pocket, sorry. I did make this one into a pocket, yes. Originally I was just going to use it as a belly band, but the cards might fall out, so I decided to make it into a pocket. One tip, when you make pockets, it is better, I didn't do it on this one, but it's better if you use your glue for the 3 sides as opposed to double-sided tape, because with the glue it dries solid and the cards won't stick into it once it's dry. In the case of the double-sided tape, if you get the card in here too forced, they will stick a little bit. I didn't do that. I should have done that. So do as I say, don't do as I do. So it's all complete, so we can just fold it up. And there we have it. We might have it. Yeah, use strong magnets. Those ones are sort of holding, but now that I have more things in them, it's popping up a little bit. Okay, so now you see that's the iCraft Box Scrapbook. A lot of fun to make, and it's a lot of fun to decorate. I love decorating them, and the more layers, the better, I always think. So that completes this particular series.
So as I said, I've taken all the segments that I've been presenting in the last 3 vlogs. I put them all together as a single video, so you can go back, and the link for that's below, and you can check it out without having to go through the vlogs. Next week I'm going to start another new series, still with the iCraft, but this time I'm going to be putting together the diary scrapbook, which looks like a lot of fun. As I said, I'm really enjoying working on these kits, and they're very reasonably priced. Availability, I'm not sure. I know my scrapbooking store, they're the ones who brought them in here, and they're the only place around here where you can get them. And their website is iCraftDesign.com, and I've been to it before, and I'm trying to remember, I should try it again, but that doesn't seem to be actually there. So I don't know how else you can get them. I know you could contact my scrapbook store. It's called Class Act. You can go to their website, classact.ca. It's all one word. And I don't know if Carol, the owner, has these actually up on her website or not, but it's a simple matter of contacting her by email. Their contact information will be there on the website, and tell him that Steven sent you. She'll know who I am, and that you're interested in ordering some of these iCraft packages. And I'm sure she can help you out with that if you're really interested in getting these. I have no idea what she would charge for shipping, but Carol's a very reasonable person, very reasonable kind of retailer, so I am sure she'll give you a good price. Okay, so, oh, I forgot to show you this. That I did with the foil quill and the foil quill mat. The little cricket guy came out pretty good. Okay, cough is back. So that takes us to what's happening this week, or what happened in this past week. Well, let's see. The most excitement of it with my mother was I got a call 8 o'clock in the morning I think it was last Wednesday morning, that they were concerned because my mother's ring finger, and she's got her wedding rings on her finger, are cutting off the circulation in her finger, and they can't get them off, and they think she's got infection in her finger. So they suggested to me that I give a call to a local jeweler and take my mother in and see if they can cut off her rings. Okay, great. I had been there the day before. My mother didn't say anything about her finger hurting her. In fact, they said, and she's in a lot of pain right now. She didn't say that the day before. She looked fine. I know that her rings were tight and that she couldn't get them off because she had said that some time ago. But my mother didn't used to take her rings off all that much anyways. So, nothing new. And her hand looked normal. But anyways, so I was looking for a jeweler. Now I was hoping there's a small little shopping mall right across the street from the nursing home. And it would have been easy enough if there had been a jeweler in there that I could load her up in her wheelchair. Actually, she's always in her wheelchair. And away we could go. Right across the street, no problem. Crosswalk there, the whole bit. But no, that jewelry store that used to be in there, according to my sister, because I gave her a call to ask her about it, because she lives in the same town as my mother's nursing home. And she said, no, that jewelry store isn't there anymore. So the closest one is downtown, which is not far, but it's too far for me to basically push my mother in a wheelchair to it. And so it wasn't open, of course, yet, but that meant I'm going to have to arrange handy transit for my mother, call up the jeweler, arrange a time, and then the jeweler may not want to do it anyways because, liability and all that kind of stuff. Well, as this is all going through my head, I get a call back from the nursing home from Nicole, one of the staff members, and she's excellent. All the staff members there are excellent. You've heard me say that before, but I mean it. And she said, I think it might be better if she goes into the emergency in the hospital and let them deal with it. And of course, her reasoning there was that, if there is infection and that kind of thing, they can take care of all of that. So I said, okay. And she said, well, she can just go, we can call the ambulance and they can take her over. So there I'm saying to Walter, well, there goes Wednesday. Because if my mother goes into emergency ward, this is not a life and death situation. We will be there all day, literally. From dusk to dawn, or dawn to dusk, whatever, on that. And I wasn't looking forward to that. Top of it all, what if my mother has to go to the washroom? I can't do that for her. And yes, there are people in the hospital trained for that, but they won't be available in emergency. No, 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 no. Our emergency care in this country sucks. Okay? I know in comparison to other countries, our hospital system's a lot better, but to us, it still sucks. So I wasn't looking forward to that. Phone rings again. It's Nicole again. She says, I'm talking to administration and we might be able to take her rings off here, cut them off here. She says, I'm going to check with the maintenance guys. Okay. I said, well, keep me in the loop. So about 20 minutes later, I get a phone call and she's, yep, no problem. Maintenance guys were able to cut them off and we've dressed your mother's finger and we've ordered some antibiotics for her as well because she does have a slight infection in it. I guess one of the rings had broken slightly in the band and it was cutting into her finger and that's where the infection had come from. But they got them off, no problem. And in fact, the one lady says, your mother was quite a trooper with that. She says, because I was sweating bricks. She said, when we were cutting that thing off. Actually, there were 4 rings to cut off. Very small rings. So Walter and I went over to the nursing home to check on my mother and to pick up what was left of the rings as well, because they were her wedding rings, and was going to keep them, what's left of them, in a little package secured. And so we got over there, and there's my mother. She's got her finger in a dressing, and everything's happy. And the whole bit. I said, well, Mom, they said you were in a lot of pain. Well, yeah. Well, we were here yesterday. Why didn't you tell me this? Oh, I don't know. Walter figures this because she knew that they were going to have to cut the rings off and she didn't want them cut. And I said, well, yeah, I understand that, but she was in pain and they had to come off. I mean, either that or lose her finger. So there you go. So anyways, I was looking at the rings and they're, I never thought about it before, but my parents were married at a very young age. My mother was 16, my father was 18 when they got married. They had to get married, okay, because I was on the way, kind of a thing. It was the 50s. I was wondering how they afforded a wedding ring in the first place at that age. My dad was working at the time, but I don't know how he managed. Now, I took a look at the ring, and believe me, by today's standards, that ring, if you can find the diamond in it, you've got really good eyesight or a microscope, because it's a tiny little chip that's in there. And the other rings that she has, like that one would be probably the engagement ring. Don't think they really had much of an engagement, okay? It was basically, better get married kind of a thing. Hello, shotgun. And then I think my mother had one of my grandmother's rings or her wedding ring or something too. And again, equally not worth a heck of a lot. Yeah, sure, they're worth a lot sentimentally. Yeah. And that's why I don't want any of the pieces lost or anything like that with them. But financially, don't think they're worth anything. And now they're in pieces, basically. And it's so thin, the bands are so thin, that even if you were to melt down that gold, whatever's in it, you'd still, well, like I said, they're not worth anything except for sentimental value. I can't even take them and have them remade. Like I had thought, maybe I could get the gold in them, sort of like melt it down in a new, the diamond reset, such as the diamond is, reset in a new setting of that, but I don't think there's enough there to work with at all for her. And, given her state, of her hands and things to start with, I don't think it's a good idea that she ever wears rings again, kind of a thing. But anyways, that was a real thrill, and I'm glad it all worked out fine, because I was having visions of everything. Her finger getting cut off, being in an emergency forever, my mother sitting in her own filth because we couldn't get her to the washroom. Oh, yeah, pleasant, right? Excuse me. So what else? Oh, the Canada Day party. Okay, nothing says this is going to be a fun party like an industrial deep fryer in the host's garage. Yes. So we went to this Canada Day party, and it was great. We had a really good time there. But they did have an industrial deep fryer. I guess one of the guys hosting the party, he used to work for the Frito-Lay company and as a salesperson, and he happened to see this sitting off to the side one day when he was at the office, and asked what was happening with that. And I guess they were throwing it out, and he says, does it still work? And I said, oh yeah, but it's old. And he said, can I have it? So he did. He brought it home, and now he has an industrial deep fryer in his garage. And so everything we had at the party was pretty much deep fried. So although yummy, my arteries have still not unblocked after that party. We started with deep fried tortilla chips and with salsa on the side in a deep fried tortilla bowl. Then we had homemade hummus in a deep fried tortilla bowl. Then we had French fries, fresh cut, deep fried. Then we had battered onion rings, also deep fried. We had potato chips, homemade, deep fried. And for the main course, those were all the appetizers that came out during the day. We had potato salad, about 3 different types of potatoes actually, baked beans, and chicken wings in several different sauce flavors, all deep fried. Now the potato salad was not deep fried. Can you say green vegetables? No, none of that. We are having none of that, okay? We just had deep fried. And yes, it was delicious. Who doesn't love stuff deep fried? We know it's not good for us, but one day out of the year, is it going to kill us? Yes, it probably could have with the amount that was there, but it didn't. But I mean, and to add on top of the fun with the deep fryer at this party, someone brought this machine that makes cocktails. It was brilliant. It had 4 containers on top of it. One of them held your liquor of choice. I think they had vodka in it. And the other 3 were like 3 different types of fruit juice or whatever. And it had a little electronic dial on the front of it, and you just dialed it to a drink you wanted. And I guess it read or knew what was in the machine, so it would, have these different cocktail recipes that went with those kind of flavors of juice and vodka. And well, everything goes with vodka. And you just dialed what you wanted, put your cup underneath it, and it mixed it up in the cup. Cool. Really cool. In fact, it had a button on it that I used called Lucky 7. Lucky 7 was like gambling. You push the button in, and the wheel went around inside, electronic. This is like an electronic readout, right? So it spins around and then it stops like a roulette wheel, and there's your drink and it pours it for you. I thought this thing was brilliant. And so I asked the person that brought it, I said, where did you get this? Well, they got it online, but they said if you were to buy one outright, it would be about $800, but they didn't pay that. They went to some auction site and bid on it and got it for $150. I mean, it's great for a party. I don't think you'd want it in like everyday use on your kitchen counter kind of thing. Oh, or maybe you would come home and go, oh, cocktail time. Let's see, I'm feeling lucky tonight. Bang. But I just thought that was cool. Somebody else made a great big thing of sangria in one of those, I don't know what you call them. They got a spigot on them, for large drinks. You can, we have punch in it or something like that. It was white sangria. He had it loaded with fruit. The problem was the fruit kept sticking in the little nozzle thing, so you had to push it around. But it was quite good too. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And the people there were a lot of fun too. So I'm really glad we got invited to this. Now it's our turn. We need to, well, we don't have to, but we always feel like obligated when somebody invites us to their place that we should, do the same with them in return. So we're thinking we'll have a party with some of these people here at our place, but we'll wait until the summer's kind of over, maybe in the early part of September or something like that, because people go away a lot in the summer, things like that, and that might be something a little bit more as the summer winds down into the fall kind of a thing. So anyways, it was a great Canada Day, one of the best that I've had in a number of years. Okay, so what else? I'm looking at my notes. Okay, we took a little drive east on Saturday, as I mentioned, to that quilt shop in Belleville. But we went to a place called Picton. Picton is famous for its beach areas because it's actually on the Bay of Quinte, which is part of Lake Ontario. And it's a very much a touristy area, cottage-like area. And there is a provincial park there that's called Sand Dunes. And I've never been myself, but Walter as a kid, I guess his parents used to go down there to swim and things like that. And it's all these sand dunes. Well, we didn't go there, but we went downtown Picton. A lot of gitchy little shops there, and had a nice lunch. I was just talking about deep fried. Well, lunch was not that healthy. I had a burger. It was good with fries, but it was definitely not on your healthy eating list, but that's why it tasted so good. You ever noticed anything that's healthy? Really, you have to convince yourself that this stuff is tasting good because it's good for you? Yeah. I don't know how that works for you. It doesn't work for me. But anyways, it was a nice, pleasant day out. Weather was cooperative. Looked like rain a couple of times, but most part it was sunny. And as I mentioned last week, we don't get that much summer in this country, so we have to take advantage of it every moment that we can. And we did. So that was nice. So what's coming up? Well, I've got a long arm session tomorrow for my show quilt. Which I'll be showing you once I get it done. So I've rented or booked time to use the long arm with that. So it'll be my second quilt that I have long arm quilted. So that's tomorrow. And then on Friday, we're going off. It's my birthday weekend. My birthday is technically on Sunday, the 14th. And the last couple of years, what we have done is we've gone to the west of us to a place called Cambridge, and then there's Waterloo, Kitchener, excuse me, and Stratford. And this is Mennonite country. And there's a lot of quilt stores in that area. So we're staying 3 nights. We're staying at Conestoga College, which during the regular year, school year, that of course is a college. But on the off season, in summer, they open up the residence as a hotel. We've stayed there before. It's a little better than No Frills, No Thrills. It has great Wi-Fi. The rooms are comfortable. There is TV in them. There's a nice washroom in the room, and it's sort of like got a kitchenette. It's got a fridge, has a microwave. Don't know if there was a hot plate in there. I don't think there was, but they have microwaves. So, it's okay. And it's cheap, which is even better. For 3 nights, it's costing us $280, including the tax. So you can't really beat that. And it's sort of centrally located to the places we want to go. So we're there for 3 nights. Sunday afternoon, we have tickets for Little Shop of Horrors in a town called Stratford. Stratford is famous for its Shakespearean Festival. For over 50 years, it's been doing Shakespearean Festival, except we're not going to see Shakespeare. I have been there to see Shakespeare before, but this year we're going to see Little Shop of Horrors because I love Little Shop of Horrors. I've seen it in movie format, I've seen it on stage before, and I'm going to see it on stage again. So that's what we're doing. And then we're coming back on the Monday. So that brings us up. Oh yeah, and before I mention what I'm about to mention, frog in my throat too. I'm a disaster. Now what was I going to say? It's so easy to get me off topic these days, talking about old people. Yeah. I'm just looking at my notes here. Yeah, we're doing all these quilt shops that are there too. My birthday gift to myself is whatever I buy in those gift shops. That's how I'm justifying it, because I do plan on spending a bit. Okay, we'll see with that. But yeah, so it's fun. And what I'll try to do is try to take some video of each of the shops I go into, if I remember to do that, and put it together and either put it on here on the vlog or put it on Idiot Quilter when we get back home. So this brings up Stephen and Walter Live for next week. Now, we may or may not be able to do Stephen and Walter Live. We won't be at home on the Sunday when we usually do it. We will be to the west that I was talking about. There is a really good Wi-Fi setup in the place we're staying. Excuse me again. So I'm hoping we can do it from our college dormitory room, which would be something a little different, but we'll see. So if you do not see us next Sunday, it's because we couldn't make the connection, and so we'll pick it up the week after. But just let you know that that's what the plan is. And I think it's time to end this video, because I'm about to hack up a lung. So anyways, yeah. So that's what the week was, and this has been a long video. And so, bye-bye. See you next week, and have a good week. Bye-bye.